Blizzard taking Warcraft in a different direction for Dragonflight, and we're trying to find out who the next raid boss will be for Dragonflight. Let's
final
see.
villain. But unlike Shadowlands,
A
we
final
don't know who
villain.
it's going to be. No, Blizzard wants us to explore the Isles, to experience the history of everyone on it.
Right,
and
we're
let
going into Dragonflight not knowing who the big bad is. Very Mists of Pandaria-esque. We don't know who the bad guy's going to be.
those stories intertwine. Just like a little expansion called Mists of Pandaria, the very expansion that Ian used to illustrate how we will interact with the Isles and the story. And what that means is that, in Ian's own words, we will learn our new villain through this story. There is a big bad, but, well, we can't imagine.
Yeah, you know what, Deadric, I agree. The Shadowlands kind of feels like a side quest expansion, right? Deadric's saying that I feel like all these things should have happened before Shadowlands and BFA. The end of Legion was leading to this, and then the Jailer just feels like a really long, ultimately pointless side story. Yeah, potentially because the Jailer's story is so shit, too, that's why it feels that way. But I do agree. Shadowlands just feels like a diversion from the core line of World of Warcraft story.
Imagine that character's just going to come out of nowhere. While it could be a new character, there's even a chance that the villain of Dragonflight is somebody that we know, and that they even went to buyraycon.com/Bellular, today's sponsor, where
Look at that
you
transition.
will get 15% off your first order. Now, these are the wireless everyday earbuds.
There you guys
They're
go.
awesome, and there's
You
no
want some
wonder
wireless
they have
earbuds?
got over
Check 'em out.
48,000 five-star reviews. They're a great package.
Check 'em
That's even
out.
before our discount. The look and the feel is premium. Just a really
Bellular
nice,
always
kind
has
of
the
nice
best
in the hand.
ad
And they're
transitions in the
absurdly
game.
comfortable, which is massive for me.
By far.
They're also super compact in the ear. There's no big dangly ear stand, which I really appreciate. Oh, and here's the shake test I did. Suffice to say, they pass. Now, they're half the price of the usual suspects. That's pretty damn sweet. I love them being in-ears that come with a few different sizes, which is great because you get brilliant passive isolation, which is a must for me. Raycons have 32 hours of battery life and offer 8 hours of continuous playtime.
Damn.
I'm used to ones that have got 4 hours in the buds, so it's a major day-to-day upgrade. So,
Nice. Check 'em out, guys. Check 'em out.
Grass up the hills. Perhaps having a great time re-listening to the Endurance audiobook with him is just a wonderful experience. So hit up buyraycon.com/Bellular today, and you will
What
get
up, Ed
50%
Grove? What up?
off your first order. There's even 5 gorgeous colors to choose from.
There
Thanks,
you go.
Raycon.
Five
Let's
colors. Check them out with Bellular.
Mob's format was simple enough.
I just mentioned that. Yep, we're going with the Pandaria model here. We don't know who the end boss is.
Shah stuff happened at the same time that we start to learn that the Xandalari are trying to resurrect an old Mogu tyrant, leading directly into patch 5.2, during which the Horde Rebellion was further set up as well. 5.3 saw the Horde split, and in 5.4, Garrosh ate the heart of an old god in a patch that brought most elements of Mists of Pandaria together. Shah, Klaxi, Pandaria itself, old gods, faction war, various stories that wove into a conclusion quite successfully. So with that framework in mind, let's take a look at Dragonflight. First, what we know, the first raid against the Primal Incarnates. Much of their history is murky. We know, though, that they are said to follow Galakrond.
Okay, so our first raid is against the Primal Incarnates. This is news to me. This is news to me. I don't know if that's what these drawings are. Is that what these drawings were? Because I remember seeing these and we were all like, are these going to be mounts? What are these? So we have a raid against the Primal Incarnates who are followers of Galakrond. We're going to view a raid that, obviously. Come on. But that's interesting. I had no idea.
Much of their history is murky. We know, though, that they are said to follow Galakrond. We don't exactly know if that means they followed him when he was alive.
What's up, Amaraz?
That he perhaps still lives somehow, or that they are just dedicated to his legacy. They want more elemental power, and they are firmly against what the Titans did to dragonkind. Indeed, much stirs on the Isle, and that is what we will explore at the start. Awakening underpins this whole expansion. Azeroth is awakening. The first zone is called the Waking Shores. Something stirred the Watchers, the Jaredin, the Primalists, even the Drakthir.
Right, we actually still don't know what woke the Guardians up. We know that, there were 10,000 years ago. That's how the cinematic starts. And then 10,000 years later, they wake up. What woke them up? It wasn't the old god invasion, right? It wasn't the Burning Legion. We had that come in Legion. These guys stayed sleeping. It wasn't the old god corruption, all that shit, because we had that in BFA. These guys stayed sleeping. We had the whole shattering of Ice Crown Sky, and we're going into the Shadowlands. What are these guys doing? They're sleeping. And then something after Shadowlands has now woken them up. That's kind of scary when you think about it, that the threat is bigger than an old god invasion, than a Legion invasion, and an afterlife invasion. None of that woke them up, and yet something did. Amarez says my fart woke them up. That's it. That's probably it. An epic level fart. That's what did it.
Steve actually told us that the island's
Good
threats
morning.
are waking up alongside the Drakthir somewhat. There's then the
Solved,
mystery
yeah.
of what the Drakthir were created to fight against. Because, yes, Neltharion did make the Drakthir for some reason. Were they created to fight those primal incarnates, or something else that we don't know of yet?
Awesome
While we
moves these
journey,
guys are going to
we're
have.
going to learn more
Badass
of the
abilities.
aspects, the gaps in the dragon's timeline, how each dragonflight works, and we'll solve local problems on the Isles. We'll tackle the topic of time with the Bronze Flight. Taronda, Ysera, Night Elf stuff with the Greens, perhaps a Loon as well. And then the future of the Black Flight with Rathian, which I think could be extremely major to this expansion story. And of course, the state
Rathian's
of
going to play a
Dragonkind
giant
with
role.
Alexstrasza, their leader. What is clear is that this could go in any direction.
Is that the Dragon City
For a video
behind
like this,
Alexstrasza?
I'd be any direct. What is
Yeah, it is,
clear-
I think. I have not seen a lot of images. Does anybody know? Have images been released of our hub city? Because I believe this is like behind her is the hub city that we're going to be hanging out in, the Dragon City. I don't know what they called it yet. But hub cities are important to expansions, man. Hub cities matter a lot because we spend so much time there. Just think back to times where we've had great hub cities and not so great ones. And you got to understand, like, it affects your mood almost. A good hub city, I don't know, what would be an example of a good hub city? I mean, I'm trying to think back. What do we have? Shattrath and Burning Crusade. We had, after BC, we had Cataclysm, which was just like our regular hub cities. Then we had Missa Pandaria. We had our two little temples. Those weren't bad. After Miss, we had Legion. Legion was Dalaran. I think Dalaran's one of the better hub cities we've ever had in the game. I like Dalaran a lot. The layout's great. Dalaran's cool. Shattrath was cool because it was bifactional. It was the first time we had one. But Oribos, I think, is shit. I hate Oribos. The circular model of it, and I've actually heard rumors that Oribos wasn't supposed to be. Wad was one of the worst hub cities we ever had. Rumor has it that the Alliance was supposed to get Old Shattrath, and the Horde were supposed to get the Horde were supposed to get, what's it called? Those big guys. Their city was supposed to be the hub city for the Horde. We end up raiding it in the expansion, but they were supposed to have, that was supposed to be their hub city. So, but they got ran out of time. Basically, we ended up getting those little campsites, which were shit. But Oribos to me is a shitty hub city. It's a circular layout. I hate it. I hate the layout of it. I hate the way you go around it, and it's not fun. And rumor has it that Oribos, I believe, was not supposed to be our hub city either. It was supposed to be a hub to get around Shadowlands, but I think we were supposed to get a different place as our hub city. Anyways, the point is, hub cities do affect how you feel about an expansion. BFA, I thought, had good hub cities. Yes, the Horde had a tougher time getting around their hub city. Kultiris was great. Felt Alive was a beautiful city. Both hub cities, Zandalar, they were both very nice hub cities. But the Hordes was a bit more difficult to get around. Will this new hub city of this dragon-esque look, will it be cool? To me right now, so far, we've only gotten a few images of it. I mean, this looks beautiful. I hope that this is the case. that all of this comes out and it's going to be amazing. But I think people underestimate the importance of a hub city. Endgrove says, yes, good hub city. Dalaran, agreed. Wish they make a hub city for an expansion with an AH. I agree. I don't know why they're so against it. Maybe they like people to go back to the old cities. They don't want to, completely annihilate their use. But we'll see. Hey, what's up, Cliffy Show? How's it going? Dalaran, yes, Dalaran's a good one. Everyone seems to like Dalaran. You the dude doing the heroic Anduin? Yes. I just signed up. Okay. Welcome. Daphne, welcome, yes. Yeah, I am the dude. I think it's definitely a single hub city for both. Oh, yeah, it's definitely a hub city for both factions. That's for sure. Yeah, I hope they bring Aniva back from the Sunwell. Her story was so sad. A new generation needs to know about her. I know nothing about her, so I do hope they bring her back if what you're saying is true, that she has a good story. They give the AH to the engineers in the new cities. Yeah, we'll see. Blizzard specifically made multiple blue posts back in the day about not including AHs in new cities so they could keep life in the old cities. Exactly. That's the only strategy I'd see behind it, the reason why they don't do it. It was a problem the one time they did it, and the problem in the other games, but just a problem. Okay. I don't like this new model for Alexstrasza. She doesn't have the beauty and elegance of her old model. This model looks tougher for sure. But maybe less beautiful, I guess. She looked great in the cinematic, I have to say. But anyways, enough ranting about hub cities. Let's continue here with who the boss is going to be.
What is clear is that this could go in any direction. But for a video like this, I'd be remiss to leave out our two most obvious threats, the things that are very much in our mind.
New model looks like the dragon from Shrek. Oh my god, now I'm not going to unsee it.
Simple facts for you.
Oh my god,
Number
kind
one,
of does.
The Primal Incarnates are linked to Galakrond. Number two, the Bronze Dragonflight timeways will be explored in Thaldraszus, one of the zones. And of course, remember that BFA and Shadowlands had infinite dragons.
How this is not a mount in game, I have no idea. This is one of the coolest dragon models I've ever seen. And you guys know for a fact that, like, take Invincible, put him right here. I think this would be one of the most sought after mounts in the game. I would run this dungeon every day if I knew this mount was obtainable. Blizzard needs to freaking rethink their strategy with this boy, because it's one of the most badass looking mounts I've ever seen.
Dragons. So I guess that's technically 3 or 4 facts. But anyway, Galakrond was
Our captain's a
massive
dragon.
drake
Yes.
that the aspects helped tier defeat.
I actually love that dungeon. It's a great one. Still mind-boggling they didn't make Hooktail a mount. Yes, I totally agree. The replayability of that dungeon would be increased 100x fold if it was a mount. People would be running that shit all day.
Before the aspects
For
actually
expansions to
became the
come, people would be going
aspects.
back
This is
and
many
running it.
thousands of years ago. Now take a look at the Primal Incarnates, and then take a look at the Cosmos chart.
What?
You kind of see that Galakrond would actually fit for Decay. Either this is background for Galakrond, and we don't fight him, or somehow we do. Could Galakrond be resurrected?
I mean, you could easily do a time, a time warp thing, right? With the Bronze Dragonflight, you could easily go back in time and either witness the fight or be part of the fight against Galakrond. That should totally be possible.
I suppose it could technically happen. Could we go back in time and fight Galakrond?
That's what I think would happen.
Too. Either way, as set up, Galakrond would have the potential to be a rather incredible fight. Now, the Bronze are involved in Dragonflight as well, and that likely means the Infinite Dragons, as we of course saw, the Infinite Pirate Dragon in Tazavesh. Could the Infinites try to change the timeline? And I suppose why?
So badass.
Would Morazond, spurred on by what he learned...
Morazon's fight is one of the coolest dungeon fights I've ever been a part of in World of Warcraft. Extremely underrated. Morazon plays with time during the fight. I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's a point where he buffs you. He like fast forwards time, and you're casting as suddenly. It's just like you've gotten a lust. You're casting like rapid. Then there's a slow point in the fight, and then there's a point where like you have to play it knowing that he's going to rewind time and your health is going to come back. That fight is extremely underrated. It's such a great dungeon fight. It's got like raid mechanics, but in a dungeon fight. I used to love doing Morzan.
Learned of Aman'Thul, and the Titans want to prevent his own ascension. Pretty crazy.
I want them to somehow bring Galakron from the past into the present. I think some time walking shit's gonna happen, or not time walking, but some kind of time, bronze dragon flight, caverns of time shit can happen, and we fight Galakron. The player had control of the time, not the dragon. That's what it was. Yes, you're right. That's what it was. And we used to have to play it where you had the lust and the rewind and all that shit. That was such a good fight. The mage anima power and Torghast that makes time go faster is that ability. No way. What? I didn't know that. I never played mage in this expansion, so I didn't know that. I didn't know. That's pretty cool. Didn't Alison from Nighthold do that too? Yeah, she did. She did. I wonder if that fight was based on this one. She does. She never, if I remember right, she doesn't really rewind. I mean, there's been lots of that. There's another fight in the Nighthold that does that too. Another boss that speeds up time and slows down time. He is, what's his name? Is it the Chromatic Anomaly? Yeah, the Chromatic Anomaly. He does that too, where he fast forwards time and slows down time. It's a cool fight too. There's been a lot of that, but I don't know why this one. Maybe because it was like the first in-game implementation of it that I remember. Morzan was one of my favorites.
Can always use another Death Knight.
Angry Chick, welcome back. What's up, Angry Chick? Thank you for the sub. Carry me. Come carry us, Angry Chick. We've been stuck on Anduin for freaking 3 days now. Yes. Yes, we'd love to have you be part of the raid. And thank you so much for the sub. Death Knight of our Scourge, Angry Chick. Welcome back to the stream. Are we starting raid? We are. We are. We're just talking a little bit about who the next end boss of Dragonflight might be. And we got a little bit into the Morzan fight, which I love.
That sort of thing has happened in media. And the idea...
It would indeed fit fighting Galakron in a rewind time event would definitely fit the expansion. I agree, the Cliffy Show. I never did heroic SOTFO. No, but... Sam, do you have Anduin wipe counter handy? I do.
Yeah, for being more to the Titans has been hinted at. Now, I want you to think of Morazan's final line that he says to us.
What is Morazan's final line?
In the end time dungeon.
You know.
Hold on. Before I play this, it's lagging a little bit. I just want to refresh this. 619 is where we're at.
Dragonflight will...
619. I don't want this to lag while I'm listening to this important part. Here we go.
You know not what you have done. Aman'Thul, what I have seen.
Clearly something is at play. What did he mean by that?
Yeah, this guy knows something.
Is almost certainly against the Titans. The
he knows
Primal
something.
Incarnates are also against the Titans. Galakron against the Titans.
Right.
And they're clearly all in opposition to us, and they're set up in a way where they could basically lead to each other. Imagine this. The Incarnates are defeated in 10.0. There is an Infinite Dragon attempt to prevent Galakron being defeated in 10.1, leading into some sort of crazy raid with Morzan in 10.2. Anything like that could work. Either way, we could finally learn what Morazan's final words actually meant. Because that's something we've been speculating about for a long, long time indeed. Now, there are other ways that Morazan could be involved.
Real quick, you were interested in our wipe counter? It's painful. 166. I've only done it on Twitch, too, so I've wiped 166 times live on Twitch. Welcome to the stream, guys.
For example, the villain, the true villain of the Deaths of
the
Chrome
Martin
scenario,
Sheen voiceover.
That was left a mystery. The Infinite sure could be involved there, and funny enough, Rathian was...
This is true, Diadric. The Void is also against the Titans. Are these dragons with the Void? I don't know. Priest Order Hall represent.
...seen during the Deaths of Chromie. So, Galakron and Morazan. I think you can see how they could...
Oh, yeah, Angry Chick. It is okay for you to join. Yes, it is okay. Go ahead and join. As long as your item level is decent.
quite clearly be dragon villains.
You're such a bullshitter. Oh, yeah, okay, so you're 1 of 11 heroic, but I
But
still
I'll tell
trust
you what, I've got another one.
This
A
is the
villain
poll, that's
that
right.
Perhaps could channel a little bit of that IamSamC energy that people like so
Still have a
much.
great item level, Angry Chick.
Rathian then. In the deep dive, Steve dropped the bomb that somebody might be more worthy than Rathian to be the Black Flight's aspect.
Before they tell us right now, who is it? It's got to be Ebonhorn, right? Ebonhorn's the only other Black Dragonflight guy I know. And why would Ebonhorn be more qualified? He's much older than Rathian, and he's uncorrupted. I mean, Rathian's uncorrupted, but Ebonhorn is like an ancient Black Dragon. He's one of the originals. So Ebonhorn, honestly, besides the fact Rathian has the bloodline claim because he says he's directly descendant of Deathwing, he's a Deathwing son. Ebonhorn is the much more clear-minded, experienced Black Dragon. Totally has to be Ebonhorn if it's not Rathian. I think our sweet spot is right around pull 214. Oh, God.
Was that a slip? No, I don't think so.
Rathian is like 12. Yeah, something like that. I mean, you can even go by a lot of these. WoW's been around so long. A lot of the age of these characters actually is in line with how long Warcraft has been around. We did the math the other day, and we actually added up the time. We said in World of Warcraft, real life years, Anduin's about 25 years old right now, which makes sense. Rathian was born. Was it in Cataclysm? Right? I think Rathian was born in Cataclysm. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. And when did Cata come out? Now, mind you, dragons age differently. They have a whole different way of aging. So, Cataclysm came out in 2009. If Rathian was born in 2009 or 2010, if he was born a year into the expansion, that would make him 12 years old right now. He's either 12 or 13 years old. That's his dragon age. That's his legitimate age. But again, dragons age differently. So, I mean, he went from whelpling to full-blown giant dragon in 13 years. Good morning. Got room for DPS? We do. Welcome.
The only other Black Dragon we know of, there's a bit in that later, not really, is Ebonhorn. And of course, he had to be saved from corruption. It doesn't really seem like this is the sort of thing he'd want.
Ebonhorn.
Also, let's be real, Rathian had been a total dickhead.
I personally don't think Ebonhorn wants the throne of the Black Dragonflight, but it might get thrust upon him. Obviously, Rathian wants it. We all know that. He does want to be the leader of the Black Dragons.
He did get a hell of a lot of people killed, and he did inadvertently also work with the Infinite Dragonflight. Whoops. In Mists, he of course encouraged the faction war, then he worked with Kairos.
There are Black Dragons dead in Outland. If you go to Blade's Edge, you can actually see the Black Dragons still pierce through the spikes out there, and Gruul is actually the one who put them there. But there are dead Black Dragons out in Blade's Edge. I don't know if there are still live ones, but if there are, they're corrupted, most likely. We're talking about uncorrupted Black Dragons. It's Ebonhorn, and it is Rathian.
To make Warlords of Draenor happen, where, just in case you forgot, his whole goal was to kind of have that big infinite orc army to take over.
Lady Sinistra is like a lich. You don't think she's ever been destroyed? I'm not sure.
Azeroth to fight Old Gods and Legion. Now, of course, his world-protecting goals do appear again in 8.3. But what's clear is that Rathian had been in the past an arrogant little shit.
This is what Anduin does to our raid every day. Ready?
So that punch from Anduin, well...
Right there. This is our raid. Anduin. One shot.
Was very well earned. Now, I'm not saying Rathian's
Philip.
a bad
Welcome,
character
Philip.
or a bad guy. He's a flawed guy who is absolutely...
Ebonhorn seems happy helping in High Mountain. Correct. He does. And let's not forget, I mean, these dragons can pick their form, right? They pick their humanoid form. Ebonhorn picked a High Mountain Tauren because I believe he just likes being out there. I mean, Rathian picked smoking hot, exotic-looking man. That's what Rathian chose to be. Ebonhorn chose to be a High Mountain Tauren because I think he just likes the peaceful aspect of living out in High Mountain. I don't think he wants to be a leader.
Absolutely the hero of his own story and who has an immense amount of potential. Now, given what he's done in the past and how he rationalized it at the time, there's a bit of a question of whether we would want him to lead the Black Flight. Sure, it seems like he's taken a turn now, but look at the things he was willing to do.
Right.
Well, after 8.3, he said he was dedicated to protecting the world alongside us. So it doesn't seem like he's going to end up being a prime antagonist, unless the events of Dragonflight move him in that direction. You could say the Blizzard could easily Garrosh him if they wanted to, but at least Garrosh was set up quite well for that in Cataclysm. I mean, to play with that idea, if WoW was ever to have an Emmett-like villain, then I guess you could say it could be a Rathian. Imagine, Rathian wants to be an aspect, Alexstrasza sees his reckless past decisions and decides that even in
Rathian became the Prince of Persia. Very true.
Helping out in 8.3, he can't be trusted with the power, but Rathian thinks he knows best. He still is a good guy on our side, but he does hatch a grand scheme that plays out through the patches, and oh dear, it doesn't go that well. There's a way to do that where he's a villain. There's also a way to do that where he's an ally who's a bit misguided, is trying a little bit too hard, and maybe accidentally unleashes something along the way.
Sebeline also looks like an older Rathian, actually, or rather, Rathian is him with good hair. I don't even know what Sebeline's model looks like. I'd have to look that up. He's the lead quest giver for Gruul's Lair. Oh my god, I probably haven't seen that model since BC. What are the differences between heroic and normal? Anduin, I'll let you know, Angry. There's not that many differences, other than the fact that everything hits harder and wipes the raid.
Your arc, I think, would be a
What's
bit of
up,
a
Reds,
mistake.
please?
What we know of is the direction of his arc, that it's going to be about the future, the sort of fate of the Black Dragon Flight. We know that his goal is to basically restore their honor, restore them to their original pre-corruption purpose. And via an interview, we know that Alexstrasza is willing to put aside past differences and kind of help him along his journey. All I know is that
Oh, really? Sebeline was a black human before it was a choice in game. Oh, okay, interesting.
Rathian's quest is very likely to lead us to the true threat. Few characters are as relentless in their pursuit of goals as
This
he.
was a badass moment.
Okay. I'm going to give you two wild cards, and funny enough, both have a connection to Rathian.
Okay.
Chromatus, the five-headed dragon fated to wipe out dragonkind.
I've heard about this.
Naltharion created the Drakthir, and one of Naltharion's children, Nefarian, created Chromatus. The only thing
This is not an in-game model, by the way. Somebody made this.
that overcame Chromatus was
Janky
the
looking
combined
dragon.
powers of the aspects. You know, combined power of the aspects. That's basically like Drakthir magic. Even can remind you of the Dragon Soul itself. Now, to top it all off, Chromatus was not killed. Chromatus was imprisoned. They couldn't destroy its body. So there is big potential here to bring Chromatus
so
back.
Chromatus
especially
Chromatus
after
is
finding
alive.
a chromatic dragon on a Battle for Azeroth Island. Now, this isn't solid, though, and it could be a bit of a stretch bringing
Interesting.
in a villain that's only been seen in a book. But introducing him to the game's audience through maybe a quest with Rathian to, reform the Black Flight and lead it and whatever, that could work. Because ultimately, Chromatus is the creation of Rathian's uncle. Next, the Twilight Dragons. I think I have to mention those, because along with the Infinite, they have been fighting for that Hour of Twilight. Now, this does not feel like a Void expansion or anything like that.
No.
I think they would do these in a way.
I mean, you could what Blizzard could do is if they wanted the next expansion to be Void, you bring these guys in towards the end, right? Turns out they've been working this whole time and doing their shit, and oh no, here comes the Void, and these guys are heralding their coming. That's something they could do.
Dragons,
but I don't see these guys being like a main antagonist in the early or mid part of this expansion.
Coming back, so there could be a little.
I always hear Chromatus was supposed to be a boss in Dragon Soul, but was hard to animate. That's very possible, the Cliffy Show. Very possible. We've heard of things like that before. Yeah, that or third tier. That changes things around. Like Nyalotha switch. Yes. Yep. Exactly. That could be it. Like, all of a sudden the expansion takes a turn. We go in another direction that we weren't expecting. Here comes here comes a hint at the next expansion kind of
bit
thing.
of a voidy story, in the background. Because there's more flights than just the 5 that we think of immediately. I think it's more like 9. Anyway, the thing you've got to remember
And
with
Argus,
the Twilight
yep.
Dragons is from the Legion Shaman Artifact quest, where Cyntharia, aka Sinestra, the prime consort of Deathwing, still lives.
Oh.
And by the way, she's also Rathian's grandmother. I don't know what that means.
There was a lot of in-game lore told through the Legion class-specific quest lines, which means a lot of people missed out on a lot of that stuff. I mean, for me, it was great. I played a Death Knight. I went through the whole, gathering the 4 horsemen and all that. It was very cool. But a lot of people didn't experience that stuff. So if you haven't yet, I suggest going and watching a lot of these quest lines on YouTube, because there's a ton of in-game lore that happened for each of the classes that you would only see if you played that class.
If I can draw some links on the board, I'm definitely going to.
Haven't we gotten enough Void? They are almost every expansion in some capacity. Yes, the Cliffy Show, you are right, and it's very possible. I would say most likely we will not hear about the Void in Dragonflight. I don't think they want to touch the Void. I think they want to keep this very Azeroth, tied to the ground, feet on the ground, unless you're flying a dragon expansion. Right? So I'm just saying, if they brought them in, it'd probably be an end of expansion. Here comes the Void, and here comes the next expansion, World of Warcraft, Void Lords or something. I don't know. But I definitely agree. We've seen a lot of the Void hints in here and there. We've touched on the Void in many expansions. Whether it comes up in the next expansion or not, if I had to put money, I'd say no. I'd say no. Because I'm not an altaholic. Yeah, I loved the class Ordle Halls, and it was a lore lover's dream. But you either need to play it or watch the vid. Yeah, I watched a lot of videos. Yeah, same, because I'm not alcoholic either.
Okay, time to pick up that thread I left dangling earlier. There is a Black Dragon mystery. Where did the uncorrupted ones from Battle for Azeroth Island expeditions come from? Now, fighting them is what gave us the uncorrupted scale that we then turned into one of Rathian's agents. And that led to the first time Dragon Isles had ever been mentioned inside World of Warcraft. It was like basically the first proper canonical mention.
Oh, shit.
Now, we've got no idea where these Black Dragons came from. Rathian didn't even seem to know about this. I mean, in 8.3, he said Ebonhorn was his only brother. I can't speculate too much, other than that these Black Dragons were hostile to us in the island.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I did no island expeditions because that was shit. I hated doing them, so I didn't do them. But man, there were uncorrupted Black Dragons on them.
They called themselves Earth Warders, and they felt that Azerite was theirs by right.
Whoa.
Which is funny because you think about even what some of the primal incarnates may end up talking about. Now, when we try to think about this, we sort of think, well, who leads these Black Dragons? A few things come to mind. I mean, that whole thing about there being a competing claim to be the Black Dragon aspect, right? So it could be a battle between these characters, Rathian and whoever this may be, for the future of the Black Dragons. And if these Black Dragons that we met in the Island Expedition are hostile, they're kind of like dragon supremacists, then I guess Rathian is the one on
They want to kill all the muggles. They want to just pure blood dragons.
Side, and there could be some natural conflict there. Also, who are they led by? I mean, are they just an old clutch of eggs, somehow uncorrupted, that finally hatched? Or is there maybe like a mysterious broodmother at their head? We don't know, but the Dragon Isles could very much reveal something. Something new then. Could there be a new villain? Yes. I mean, I just talked about that Black Dragon group from the...
Could there be a new villain? You know who was a new villain? Even though they like to play it off like he wasn't. The Jailer. The Jailer was a new villain. He was never part of WoW lore to begin with. He was canonically never part of the story, never been mentioned, never been hinted at. Even though Blizzard liked to play this big brain game where they were like, oh yeah, the Jailer's been here all along. He just didn't know. No, he was not. He was not here all along. When original Arthas storyline was written, the Jailer was not considered as part of it. So he was an added-in boss. Who else? We had Garrosh. Garrosh was not part of WoW lore to begin with. Garrosh was the first ever character, like in-game, born in World of Warcraft. He was not part of Warcraft 3. He was never in the first 3 Warcrafts. He was in a World of Warcraft created character who slowly worked his way up. He was cool. The Jailer, not so cool. So we've seen kind of 2 instances, I feel like, where we've seen an in-game new boss created, a new storyline and everything. Sometimes it works,
The
sometimes it
island that
doesn't.
we really know nothing about. But then there's the question of what is underneath the Dragon Isles.
You see here, guys, all these runes. Now, I'm guessing these runes are not the same as what we see in Shadowlands. But what are these? Look at them. They look a lot like the runes that we've seen on, Jailer stuff. I wonder if this means anything, like where his runes come from. I have no idea. Or the runes that, we see Maldraxxus's guy putting up. They're Titan stuff. Yeah, you're probably right. This is just Titan writing. But they definitely look like rune-esque stuff. And I noticed it when I first watched the cinematic.
What is underneath the Dragon Isles? Is there anything there? I mean, who knows?
Titan
There's a lot
stuff,
of Titan
indeed. That's what it could be
technology
for
just
sure.
lying around. We can guess. I mean, again, the big arc here is awakening. That means Azeroth as well. In the cinematic, when the Watcher wakes, the water is filled with Azerite. Azerite-looking stuff that those black dragons said they had a claim to. Then we get the Jadarin, the elemental half-giants who fight dragons.
These guys look badass.
Dragons, of course, themselves are descended from the elements. What is the connection there? Could there be a strange new villain in that? There could be. Then, in the deep dive, Steve told us that the energy that returned to the Dragon Isles was elemental. Of course, that all ties into Azeroth's very deep history, perhaps even with the element of spirit being consumed. Maybe that's part of the reason why the Primal Incarnates are our first raid. That is a raid about the elements, but it's also a raid about the dragon's role as defenders of Azeroth, because those incarnates do not agree with all
Viewer raid? Viewer raid on the elemental dragons? Yeah. Come.
the,
Let's
Titan
come.
aspect-y stuff. Of course, like Garrosh, the big bad will really, as in Mop, weave together all the things that we've learned as we quest through the Isles. Many people might think Rathian there, and I think he could be an element of something, but also think about Morizond. We kind of know that guy before he turns evil.
Right.
We could get a Chromatus, we could get a Galakrond,
There are options. There are options.
but we could also get something entirely new that manages to bind all of this lore together into one big bad. What did Neltharion create the Drakthir to fight? Was it just primal incarnates imprisoned away, or is there something more? If I was to end this by giving my final personal bet for this story, I would say there is a decent chance.
I think one of the best looking parts of Shadowlands was when we were purging the Maw and paid a visit to Odin to cleanse the eye. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Like, they were trying to lay a breadcrumb. Yes. I think many breadcrumbs were laid in Shadowlands that were never picked up because of time and all that other shit, and they just wanted to get the expansion done. So, lots of untold stories that I think we're going to be told. I think there's an entire raid that got left out of this expansion, hence the reason Anduin is so hard. Everyone says Anduin was supposed to be an end raid fight for the pre-Jailer raid, and he wasn't, so they combined him into this raid. I kind of believe that. Many breadcrumbs that will never be picked up again.
Morizond will be our main villain.
Dropped but never picked up.
And they may try to
The story of
tie
Shadowlands.
all of this suspicion about the creations of the first ones fulfilling their purpose into a thing that ties into Morizond's final line from End Time. Because, of course, that's Morizond. That's his death. But it's all timey-wimey bullshit, right? So just because that Morizond died then doesn't mean that there can be another fork in the timeline that could come back to play with us.
The Bronze Dragon Flight allows any boss to be brought back. Like, it totally opens up the timelines to be anything we want it to be or anything Blizzard wants it to be. Shadowlands had so much potential. Bad turns or not, I miss Castle Nathria. Yes, I do too. Castle Nathria was the highlight of this expansion, and we're going to get to do it again. We're going to get to do it again as a Fated raid. Fated raid content is coming soon, which was Mythic Plus versions, basically, of raids. So that's cool, and I'm excited to do that. We'll be doing that on stream for sure. There's evidence to some data mine stuff of the Jarrust raid in Ardenweald. Yeah, yeah, I read those as well. That the Jarrust were supposed to get some kind of closing to their story in Ardenweald, and they are in Ardenweald. We've seen them in the quest lines in Ardenweald and stuff, but it was never really revisited. Weave stuff, Evangelarian voice actors all over Nathria. Yeah, yeah, the voice acting for all of Castle Nathria was great, as well as like just the what's it called, the zone as well, right? I mean, I think as far as zones go, Revendreth has some of the best voice acting and just aesthetics in general. Did I mute this? I did.
Something like that, of course it's important if they do that they very much tie that into the characters and that it feels grounded instead of, okay, basically do that in a way that involves the words first ones being said precisely 0 times through the entire expansion.
Right.
And that is possible because suspicion about Titans has been, bubbling up for the last while, especially with Marzon's final line. So there is one potential bet. As for, Ysera, Greens, Tyrande, Night Elves, Elune, I think that will be a B plot. It might weave in, but I don't think it's going to provide us with our final villain.
The Night Elf story will continue. Some people have mentioned like the planting of a seed to regrow a world tree, stuff like that. The Night Elves and the Undead, their stories are about to continue. We already know the Undead are going to be gathering at the gates of Lordaeron, right, with Calia Menethil. So they're going to try to, maybe there's a rework of Lordaeron and the Undercity to give the Undead a city again. And the Night Elves, the same thing. We see that in a lot of the pre-expansion stuff, there are Night Elves in Stormwind, right? They're refugees in Stormwind, and that story is going to continue in Dragonflight, and it's possible that we get another world tree for them. That's it. Why is the raid not filling, Angry Chick? It's probably because we're at Anduin. This is not a full clear, and it's Monday. A lot of people have already cleared a lot of the raid content that they want to do. Hey, what's up, KJ Snelly? Serena just subscribed. Oh, to YouTube. I gotta fix that alert. My YouTube alert is completely fucked. But thank you for subbing on YouTube, Serena. Appreciate it. Yes, our YouTube. All of our highlights go up there. Check it out sometime, guys.
The other thing, aside from Morizond, that has a great chance is Rathian, not as a prime villain.
I gotta fix that alert. It's still like the standard zombie running alert.
Decently aggressively exposing things on the island.
Oh, thanks, Sugar Dust.
Being just, brutally relentless in trying.
Don't we need a healer? Yeah, we could use another one. Snelly, yeah, come on in. I didn't realize we lost a healer. I thought we had 5.
His goal, which I think could really work. He is a fan favorite character. He's one of those guys with a complicated, murky past. Really, he was such.
This is the old pre-Blizzard lawsuits, sexy ass Alexstrasza model. No longer the Alexstrasza we get in game. This was pre-sexual harassment lawsuits.
A decade in the past.
We do have 4, Angry Chick, but you can use 5 in this fight.
But he also has his reasons, and he.
We need DP. This is like the weirdest situation ever. We have 5 healers and we have with 7 DPS. We do not. Where the hell are the DPS?
Great screen presence too. It just makes me think. Actually, this could all be really great. I really enjoy Bronze Dragon lore and Infinite Dragon lore. I really enjoy Rathian as a character. I like dragons in general.
Sounds good, Rest, please.
It's shaping up to be quite up my alley, whatever this end villain is.
Yep.
So there you have it. A big thank you to Raycon for sponsoring today's video.
Check Raycon out for Bellular, guys.
Let me know who you think the final villain is going to be. And, of course, I'll see you next time.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm so damn excited for Dragonflight. I'm like a kid in a candy store. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. Maybe because we've been so deprived of candy in Shadowlands. But who the end boss is going to be, I think there's a lot of potential out there, as we've talked about.
And always use another Death Knight.
Porky Eeper, thank you so much. 4 months in a row. Let's go. Woot woot. Yes, thank you. Death Knight of our Scourge now for 4 months. Thank you so much, Porky, for the sub. Continued Death Knight of our Scourge. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.